Hi, good afternoon. This is Bhaskar Rao. I'm going to moderate a very topical and a very exciting sort of uh, webinar today. Uh, the inflation tangle, and this is a burning topic of the day across the globe. There's like a revisit to the entire globe of the 1970s and the early 80s. And every central bank, Reserve Bank, Federal Reserve are all acting to counter this. To discuss how CFOs navigate this business, I have with me very competent senior finance leadership comprising of 5 senior and dynamic CFOs of large Indian business who will discuss this inflation challenge. And I will introduce them to you now. It is Raj Kumar Jha, CFO Asia Pacific, Africa, and MD Tyson Group India. Raj, can you put on your video, please? Welcome, Raj.
Hi, Bhaskar.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good
afternoon to everyone. This is Raj, and representing Tyson Group in India.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Raj. Welcome. I have Kairav Modi, who's CFO Digital Industries for Siemens. Kairav.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. We'll be representing Siemens.
Thank you. Next, I have Tejas Mehta, CFO Mondelez India. Hi, Tejas.
Hi, Bhaskar. Hi, everyone, and look forward to this exciting conversation.
I have Sudeep Agrawala, who's CFO of Philips India. Hi, Sudeep.
Hey, hello everyone. Sudeep here from Philips India Limited.
And last but not the least, Vidya Sarthi, full-time director and CFO, 3M India. Let me just take a little bit, just set a little bit of context for today's discussion. I mean, you would have noticed today's ET News carried the reaction of Nitin Paranjpe, HUL chairman, on the challenge the Indian business is facing. And he said that this is the most difficult economic situation where consumers are even cutting down on purchase of FMCG goods. His view is that the inflation in India is being seen over the last 14 months with double-digit wholesale price increase. So it's really a very important one for every CFO to sort of deal with. And the CFO's role in managing this and to manage organization response has to be very clear. And for me, this is 3 major C's: communication, collaborations, and most importantly, coordination. So I've just given a brief introduction of what we are going to discuss with you. Probably you might have heard part of it. But let's start with our dialogue with all of you. And let's hear you out how you in each of your organization are managing this big challenge. Because this is, for me, just the start of it. We would see much more of this. So including, increase in cost, increase in managing bottom line, increase in interest rates, raising funds. All of these are challenges the CFO will face. So let's understand how each of you are managing it. So the first question, I can start with Raj. We all know that inflation is an issue which has made all of us CFOs worried. But is it too worrisome for you to keep you awake till late night, or how are you managing it? I mean, is it really, how do you face this issue?
Yeah, Bhaskar, because we representing conglomerates, and you know that it is issue is not very straightforward. Okay, here I would say that when our cost is rising above the threshold, it is a matter of concern. Okay, because it is a destabilizing factor. Okay, it can kill your all plan, all your blueprint, what you have made. Okay, whether for the mature company, whether mature organization, or for the startups. So I am saying that I'm more right now attentive at the moment, okay, because rather than more worrisome or awakened, but I'm attentive and I'm taking call according how economy is behaving. Accordingly, I need to take a call because it is all stay positive at the moment, despite in this gloomy position. So that's from my side.
Kaira, what do you think about this? Is it keeping you awake?
Well, I don't know. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Definitely not keeping me awake in the night, but clearly a worrisome topic, no doubt about it. Given the fact that this is a demand-based inflation versus cost push, etc. So costs are rising because input costs are rising. Demand is also increasing. Even if you buy, as you rightly said, a simple thing like consumer goods or a car, not only have the costs gone up, the timelines have gone up. So it is worrisome. Even in our business, when you talk about automation or digitalization or software or energy or infrastructure, prices are increasing. So it does keep me sort of concerned and attentive. I'd like to use the same word as Raj used. But I think the bigger issue is that India is a growing economy, and we all know this. So we are definitely not in a state of recession. Definitely not. I mean, our forex reserves are 600 billion. Yeah, we are a 3.1 trillion economy. Fifth or sixth largest in the world. So we have all the stars in the right place. Investments are happening. Probably they might be a bit subdued. As not as much as planned, but definitely you do see the capex cycle, ringing in. Whether it's brownfield or greenfield, opex, capex, all of that. So I think there is a lot of action happening. It's just that sometimes what happens, globally, we probably tend to also react. And the first are the bond markets, forex, and then followed by the stock market. So the entire mood goes down. But I think, as you rightly said, we need to stay positive. I'm not worried, but I'm attentive. And as someone said, that I'm not fed up on unintended.
That's true. That's true. Vidya, what do you have to say? 3M, a consumer oriented company, and are you facing the same issues that HUL chairman has told?
Yeah, we have, we are into four different different nature of businesses we have. And each of them are very different. One is we work on this the transportation and industrial automation we do. The other business is on the healthcare, and the other one is on the consumer business. So very different, varied business types, and each of one have their own kind of issues that they had to face during this pandemic. Inflation or deflation trends in the normal circumstances, we are used to it, and we definitely work on sensitivity analysis even while we do the planning. But the pandemic things that we went through globally, as well as the Russia Ukraine issues, these are all very new to us, and it's a learning phase. Of course, we are looking at how we need to kind of navigate these situations and also make use of the opportunities, like how the other person was referring to. It's we also need to see what are the opportunities we have, out of this, and how we can change things, how can we do things better. Other than this pandemic, I think we would have just gone the same way, traditional way of thinking, and a lot of strategies could not have emerged. But this has given an opportunity to think differently, to make use of the external environment in a different way, and then go forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I think I'll ask Sudeep and Tejas also the same questions because I want their perspective. Both very strong consumer companies, and they feel inflation very, very fast. Sudeep, can you take this?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bhaskar. So for us, we are both as a B2B as well as B2C. So for us, I'll try to explain in terms of like an obesity. Like obesity is not a disease, but many more things comes along with it. So inflation is not a disease, but the problems that it brings to the entire organization, is like it's a nightmare. So it's not that I'm keeping awake at the night, but yes, it bothers me and it bothers the entire organization. I don't think so anyone in the organization remains untouched. Either it is finance or supply chain or sales or marketing. Everyone is bothered with inflation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Tejas?
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear everyone's perspectives, and hi everyone. And maybe I like the word Raj used or Kairav used. I will say I'm attentive. Maybe I fall asleep a little bit later than I what used to do normally, but I'm still sleeping well at night, right? Let's put it that way. I think like all companies, Mondelez is also facing the same. And I think, as you mentioned, Bhaskar, we are people. We touch small products. Our purchasing kind of the quantums are also small in dollars. So every increase pinches a lot of people. So I think definitely impacts us. And I think, as also some of the panelists mentioned, it impacts a lot of things. It impacts plans And I think as Raj says, what you don't want is your plans to change dramatically, because in the end, we all want India to grow. And I think we don't want that growth story to stop on the back of significant inflation. So I think we are conscious of the responsibility of growing our business and growing as part of growing India as well. So I think the way we manage pricing, and I think your second question, Bhaskar, was how do we mitigate, right? And again, there is
Yeah.
no perfect answer. Different periods demand different answers, right? I mean, the way we approach is to mitigate with a principle, two or three key principles. What we call revenue management principle is to do strategic pricing, manage costs down as well. So cut down discretionary spends. I think like all my colleagues will be doing for sure, and then only price what is really necessary, because we don't want to let the consumers feel the largest pinch. And I think to what you heard today, as the HUL chairman saying, they are seeing impact in the marketplace, and that is all what we need to be watching. So I think in that context, do manage it strategically. But yes, it is definitely a topic that is here, and also worrying to a large extent.
I mean, I think hearing all of you, it's really a good insight into the way you guys are approaching this particular issue. I'm also happy that all of you have very clear thoughts in your mind on how to deal with that. It's great to hear from fellow CFOs. In fact, this decade, starting from let's say 2020, has been a decade of so much of uncertainties. We had a revisit of 100-year, once in a lifetime sort of a pandemic. Then we see war, which is now getting so very vicious. And then on the back of it, we are seeing the crude oil price going up and inflation coming. I mean, this is so very deja vu. So in view of all of this, geopolitical issues, in view of all of this, how do you think? I mean, is supply chain a worry for you? Are you really seeing issues of supply chain? How do you think this can be best handled? What's the next step you would take relating to the supply chain related inflation concerns? I would actually ask Vidya first to go on this. I will ask few people, but let me get Vidya's perspective first.
Yeah, supply chain, I should say, was a big nightmare for us because we have almost 60 to 70% of our products imported. They get imported either as raw material or almost in a semi-finished state, and then we do some processing here and then we sell it out. So it was seriously a nightmare because, as you know, the rates were much higher, and even to get the containers, the shipping lines fixed for you also was kind of not very reliable. You'll get the dates, but then it would just not happen. And then the air freights were shooting up. It was multiple times going up. There were congestion in the ocean, so it was seriously a different type of situation. And whatever you do, commitments to your customer also is kind of you're not sure whether you'll be able to supply on time. So there were a lot of issues that were there, but nevertheless, what we did was we had some mitigation measures. What we did, we were trying to find alternate suppliers, but that also cannot be done in a very short span of time because we need to see that the qualities remain, and then we just can't compromise on certain aspects of what we have already been known for. So you have to maintain all the aspects as is, and also see that you are on time on delivery. And then sometimes air freights go up, so you negotiate with the customer that can we do a 50% sharing of the air freights. And so that sometimes what happens, our products are critical to the customer production lines. So those aspects were there. So we kind of navigated. We were also, since we are located in different countries, so we were trying to kind of see how we need to ship it, which are the locations we need to transfer it. So we did all these juggleries. We were also building inventory, even though that was not really very interesting, but still we were building inventories so that we are able to source our materials, keep it with us, and then sell it to the customers as and when we need. The other issues what we saw was the lockdowns were there, both at the supplier side as well as the customer side. So we ship the materials, then we are sending it to the customer, but the customers are not there to receive it. Then again, you bring the materials back. So it was a serious kind of dramatic situations. the profits were really kind of having a big hit. We did not really do increase of pricing immediately. We just kind of were watching and seeing, because you cannot just react to every situation. So nevertheless, we did pricing. Of course, then we cannot survive pricing. We were constantly increasing the pricing, but that is how we navigated it.
So just in time inventory has taken a huge beating. Kaira, what do you
Yeah.
say? What are your views on this?
Yeah, pretty much echo what Vidya mentioned. I think for us also in Siemens, a lot of our products, we have 22 plus factories in India, but nevertheless, a lot of the products are also imported. So it had to be a good balance between import, how much do we import, how do we manufacture locally, etc. But chips, the shortage of chips globally, that has really made a big problem for us. And what were lead times, which were basically a few months or a few weeks, have been have gone beyond the normal lead time. So we had to really plan our supply chain really well. So it was also a bit of a nightmare. But I think we got together, we made sure that we stock, we basically increase our inventory. Factories were working 3 shifts. Even our contract manufacturers were working full-time 3 shifts. So we really had to come together to make sure that we serve the customer. Advance ordering had increased. So pretty much when you look at the distributors sort of a business, a lot of the distributors, when they know, especially in the automation drives, environment, software environment, they know that you're not going to get the product on time, especially the hard products. They would advance order, and then it becomes very difficult for us to even assume whether this is the right pattern of demand, for us to forecast it well. So we had a lot, like a plethora of problems that hit us. But I think proper planning, discussion with our supply chain management team, prioritizing customer needs, that is also very important. Trying to understand what are the needs of the customer. We had a very good communication mechanism with the suppliers and with the customer. Because there are, when I say customer, we have OEMs, we have end customers, and we have the distributors. The entire range is over here. And when you have the distributors, they are the moms and pops. You have the OEMs and the end customers who are huge. So their needs are different. So financing was taken care of. So it did a whole mix of sort of items that came out of our drawer. Let's put it this way. In terms of measures, just to make sure that we tide over this problem. But yeah, supply chain was a challenge. I personally expect this to continue for some more time into 23, at least for our business that we are in. Given the fact that the chip plays a very crucial role in our business, especially automation and drives. So I would say 23 is where we would see some amount of rationalizing. But I think, yeah, we did face a challenge. Good planning and forecasting helped us.
So it's very clear from what you say that supply chain inflation, the creation of shortage, mismatch is driving inflation also in a very major way. Sudeep,
Yeah, the planning was seriously very difficult, because I remember that we had to, we ordered and we were not getting the material. Then all of a sudden the materials just rushed in, and we had to actually open a new warehouse in Chennai to accommodate all the material. So it became so bad. But our only thought process is we need to kind of service the customer. So that was the only point that we had in mind, and we were seeing the cost, not really wanting to see the cost part of it. And then we managed it well, increasing the pricing at a later point in time. There was a lag in pricing.
Absolutely. I think it has an impact on cost, impact on pricing. Sudeep, just also your thoughts on supply chain induced inflation. Plus, do you think this supply chain issue will go away in a few months? For his industry doesn't think so. But do you think it will go away for in few months? And do you think this will tone down the inflationary concerns as well?
Let me start with what just Tejas mentioned. Firstly, it is not going to go away in few months. I see that till end of Q3, Q4, 2023, we should expect this type of disturbance that is coming. And also one peculiar behavior I have found in the industry, I'm not sure whether other colleagues of mine, like for example, when they have seen there is a shortages, they order 100 quantities. Yeah. So it puts up a pressure on the supply. Manufacturing starts, demand soars up, price soars up, and closer to the date when they see that, okay, availability is there, they reduce it to 50. So what happens is so for that, you see that there is an artificial inflation that comes into the picture, and the demand goes up, the prices goes up, but that is not there. So there is also a bit behavioral phenomenon that we are seeing in our industry, and that needs to be curtailed down. So that's where I'm in continuous discussion. And last thing to mention before I hand it over to you, supply chain and the forecasting was always very critical. Yeah. But the prediction and the forecasting has become much more critical now. Yeah. And for us, the most important thing that we keep in mind is our customer NPS. Yeah. That matters for us, because ultimately that's the one which is going to help us once this pandemic and all these issues are over. Customer NPS is the one of the most important thing that we always keep in mind. Yeah, back to you, Bhaskar.
No, I agree with what Sudeep mentioned. Just one point, Bhaskar. Very clear. I mean, there are customers who, or distributors who give us an order, and the lead time is really long, huge. And then as soon as the time comes, it's either pushed or the project which is with the end customer is delayed, so they do not pick the material. So and somewhere in between, the cost rise, the price changes. So all those challenges are there. At some point in time. But sometimes we have to, as Vidya mentioned, take an approach which is like a 50-50 approach, or be a little bit firm with the customer and say, what, we've borne this for the last 6 months. Now you need to take this. So somewhere we need to take the ball in the hand and say, sorry, Mr. Customer, now you need to take the material. We need to be firm now. I mean, it is the order of the day.
Very true, Kara. Very true. Actually, Tejas, your business, I think supply chain, logistic cost, inflation, I think they all mean the same. What are your thoughts on this, Tejas?
Oh, I mean, really nice. I mean, really interesting discussion. And I will tell you, I think similar to the chips issue that I know we have been hearing, we manufacture, chocolates on automated lines where you are required chips. And I think that has definitely proven to be a big challenge when we want to deal capacity investments on time. So that is definitely one challenge. I think coupled with that, we don't have a lot of imports, but of course, one of the largest raw material we have is cocoa, right? And of course, India make only so much cocoa. So we do have to rely on imports. And I think this whole supply chain shortage, not just actually recent from the war, but even from the COVID times with China, the whole container issue, our cost on import has gone up, substantially. And I think then when you correlate that to now also the delays on the timing, it's a double whammy. On top of extra cost, you now have even further issues on stockage. I think the few ways we have mitigated, I think a lot of panelists spoke about, but I think probably building up a bit more buffer inventory at our sites, I think that has helped. Definitely more accurate planning, more ability to stock at different places. I think where we were in a good places, we had plants spread across various parts of India. So even starting from COVID, where we had lockdowns at different places, I think not being concentrated in one plant was in a way blessing in disguise. So that really helped us kind of diversify the risk. And I think few things we are trying to do is trying to see if we can localize operations, alternate supplies, alternate suppliers. First we used to say at least 2 suppliers for every material. Now we probably say 3 or 4 for key ones to make sure we're not running short. I think the supply lead times, we are willing to accept a little bit longer. We are willing to accept more inventory period, etc. So those are all the mitigations I think we are trying to do. And of course, I think as Sudeep mentioned, I think in the end, it's interest of, making sure our customer delivery remains strong, or CFR, or customer service, as we call it, right, remains strong, and the consumers don't feel the loss of a product.
Very, very interesting, Tejas. Actually, this gives another question, which I will ask Raj to address it. It costs money to hold stock. Vidya said, Tejas said, Kairav said, everybody said that you've got to hold stock because of supply chain issues. That means more working capital. Now, where's the balance you will do between a working capital and satisfying customer demand or managing your supply chain? And what other challenges do you see in the entire working capital management? Interest costs are rising. It will raise your cost, again adding to inflationary pressures. How do you see this, Raj?
Thank you. One point is which is discussed by all the panelists about asymmetry between demand and supply and resulting inventory piling up. I will touch upon on that because we were experienced during 16 and 17 when demand was more higher than supply. Okay, so it's coming to your answer because it is not a very product specific. I will come straightforward representing industry because being a conglomerate, okay, cannot have a straightforward answer. But if my answer is not so ambitious, but it is more pragmatic, I will take. So definitely, if you have multiple product, you need to see the market structure where you are sitting. Whether you are in monopolic position, oligopoly, or even though it's sometimes perfect competition where these are the deciders, okay, how your working capital will be structured. And your market environment is biggest catalyst. Then demand of your cash conversion cycle. Okay, that's very important. When we are fixing our company strategy and plan, we fixing our cash conversion cycle always that what should be. If it is seasonal, definitely it will be higher because we have some automotive, I can say, company which has higher working capital cycle. Okay, so there's no straightforward answer for that what we are going to handle. And I am saying that many viewers are here, many participants, which are representing through the SMEs, startups, okay, and they all have their own challenges, okay, when they are building up their working capital, okay. But bottom line is there, as a CFO, always we are looking efficiency, okay, how best working capital, I can say, structure we can establish for our company, how I can say better working capital cycle we could have, okay. Everybody loves run their business through vendors fund, okay, more credit through vendor, less credit to customer. It is very big ideology. We just learn from day one and we are just imbibed, but it's in reality it is not going, okay. Reality is entirely different. Bottom line is again that how we are going to satisfy our customer or demand, I can say. And you will have definitely you should have a seamless supply, okay. Seamless supply for ensuring you must have enough liquidity first, because today if supplier has their firepower, they are in the better position, okay, then definitely you need to quench their thirst first, okay, what they need. And you have to have your priority, whether through your competitive advantage or through your liquidity, okay. Next it is coming, your inventory management plan is very pivotal, okay. And as everybody said that customer is not picking, they are demanding more. Yes, it is a phenomenon. It is the phenomena arising due to asymmetry of information embedded in the whole supply chain. Okay, and we have acknowledged this at past that this is the one of biggest reason, and that's called in management bullwhip effect. Okay, and you need to address this position that from your, I can say, dealer or distributor, okay, till it is production. Okay, it should have a very systematic, I can say, informations of or forecasting, okay, and it should not be emotional, rather than it should be realistic. So you can just weed out a lot of, I can say, inefficiency in working capital management. In addition, right now forecasting should have also very dynamic, okay. Gone those days when we have very stereotype of forecasting model, because you need to have very strong dynamic forecasting model. It is maybe this weekly, but it depends on your size of organization, that how complex, how straightforward it is, because you need to collate all the information and then quantify, okay, in monetary term, and that will be the only, I can say, base for all the supply chain. So I think these are the factors always I am looking for when I'm going for the efficiency. Matter of challenges, what you have asked. Yes, now it is very crucial thing that receivables will be under stress. Okay, that's the biggest thing. And a single deadbeat can give a domino effect to entire supply chain. So if one defaulter is there, that it will affect entire supply chain. Okay, so that we need to be wary, and we need to see that how robust credit control you have. Okay, how you are allowing the credit to your customer, whether it is B2B, B2C, all it depends, but we need to be careful, because if we are not getting collection in time, it will destabilize the things what we are discussing. Second, we should have confidence from the vendor side also, because input suppliers are non-committal, because they have their own disruptions. Okay, so we need to bring some transparency, okay, with the supplier, okay, so that they can acknowledge your need, and we need to see that how we can satisfy their needs and demand also. So it's the time to have a very robust, I can say, vendor and so I can say customer relationship altogether. Third point, we will have more focus on the real demand vis-a-vis emotional demand. And that's the thing what we are speaking in boardroom. When we are going to boardroom, then definitely we have a certain plan, and it is sometimes succeeding with emotions. And in this dynamic environment, it is changing very fast. Sometimes we are below the plan or above the plan. So we need to take care our board also into confidence that, hey, it is not very, I can say, at the moment it's very tough to say walk the talk. We will be dynamic, okay, but you should be informed, you should be posted in a real-time basis. So I think it is a current scenario that I sum up, okay, entire, I can say, challenges what we are facing and what intake from my side you will have. So that's from my side.
Very true, Raj. I mean, in fact, your agility and recalibration in forecasting, I think that rings a bell for all of us right from the days of COVID. Kairav, you have any thoughts on what challenges you're facing in working capital?
I think working capital, given the, if I were to look at a product business, solution business, systems business, that we are in as Siemens, and of course projects, each business has its own challenge, whether it's a short cycle business or it's a long cycle business. When I'm doing a project, say for ThyssenKrupp, it's a different challenge. When I'm selling, my components or my products to a distributor, it's a different challenge. So we do structure our receivables. So those challenges from the customer end are very different. But I think 2-3 things I'd like to talk about. One is working capital, but I think the approach to the customer has to change, and has changed, and we have done that during the COVID times, and we started way before. But I think this whole digital selling, value selling, going to the CFO and explaining the business case to the CFO in terms of an investment has changed, and we are doing that. So that to explain to the CFO that you need to move towards digitalization, you need to look at automation, you need to look at whether it's machine learning or AI. For example, forecasting using AI is one tool that we've been using globally. We also do a lot of RPA. So a lot of automations happen, in the mundane processes like whether it's delivery note processing or invoice processing. So a lot of RPA is being used. So we are trying to bring in productivity at our end, but trying to reduce our costs. But also the customer side, we are trying to make sure the customer is more alert of the kind of offerings that we give them. We are also trying to negotiate, better DSOs, so trying to bring the DSOs down, so better payment terms. Financing is a big thing that some of our customers are pushing for. So we have our own internal financing arm within Siemens. And when we approach the customer, we go not just with the product, solution or system, but also with a chance for the customer to say, okay, I also give you financing. You have a credit crunch, or your credit rating is not good. I think Raj spoke about that. So credit control is also something that we look at very effectively, trying to say, okay, how can we, go one level ahead to help the customer. And we also look at, now coming to the supplier side, we have tie-ups with a couple of banks where we help the supplier with supplier financing or supplier discounting, bill discounting. So a lot of these things have emerged, standard solutions, but we are now pushing this very aggressively so that the customer and supplier both, are not kind of cash trapped. For some of our small businesses now, off late, we are also looking at trying to see we get the order in, we get the turnover in, and we also get the cash in. So we try to see that the order equals revenue equals cash for the short cycle business, your small business. And there we really push the distributors with some incentives, etc., so that the cash comes in. Cash is king and queen. So cash comes in, and we make sure that our cash FCF, free cash flow, is better. So a lot of things. I tell you, it's thinking on your feet. But yes, we also go through that in Siemens to a great extent.
Kairav, you're saying cash is more from being a king to an emperor. That's probably what, that's what would in fact I think it's very interesting also that with all of this there are many tools to counter inflation, one of them being increasing the price of the product, or like in earlier cases it was also told that manage cost better so that we can hold on to pricing where that pricing is very not very flexible to demand, etc. So how do you think, and I'll ask Sudhit to give his views on this, how do you think the pricing strategy should be working given this continuous inflationary pressures? What are your views on this? What would be the strategy?
Yeah, thanks for asking this very important question, Bhaskar. See, pricing for me is just a small element in this inflation, because it is very easy to say increase the price. Yeah, but is that not easy? You need to look into the competition. You need to look into that. How is the market perceiving it? You need to look into the economy of the scale, because as HUL mentioned today, yeah, it is just a matter of time. Yeah, that once you keep increasing the pricing, if your turnover does not fall pre-price increase versus post, you are in a safe zone. Yeah. But if you start feeling it that there is a reduction in turnover, or let's say in number of sales, then it means that you are break that economy, and sooner or later the consumer will either forgive that need or will go for the cheaper option. That's very much likely. As an industry, also one thing which we need to observe is that our market share. Yeah, it can be upside down, but as far as we are having consistent market share of that particular business, yeah, then we are in a safer zone. So pricing tool is only very limited, and it can work sometime, otherwise it may not work sometime. Yeah, so that is something which I think so is very important to market. And again, coming back is to the customer NPS. Yeah, and also sometimes it's also like, what is the direction from the organization? Yeah, sometimes you can increase the price, you increase the margin, but if your local competition is not increasing the price and they want to grab the more market share, then you are in a fix. It is also to seek the clarity from the sometimes top down. That what do you want? Yeah, you want to retain the turnover, you want to retain the market share, or you retain the margin. Yeah, that clarity is also sometimes a conscious decision has to be made sometimes in the organization. Yeah,
I think it's a very difficult question to answer, whether to increase the price, hold the price, how will demand react to a pricing change. So coming back to, let's say, Vidya on this, I think this was touched upon by Raj also when he said that agile and recalibration and forecasting. Scenario planning in today's time is not very tedious, but given access to technology, etc. But that's also the fact that consumer preference today are changing rapidly. Those products which were in demand during, let's say, pandemic times are not in customer list any longer. How do you manage how to do a forecasting here so that you don't end up producing or having products which don't sell and you have demand for things which are not there?
See, for us, if you take our business, it is like the all the products are required by the customers, because as I said, we are working on transportation business, all the roadways and other things where we supply the materials, and then the automotive customers, and we have this healthcare business where we have so many 3M products that is going into the healthcare business. Then consumer business again, they are all almost like household things that is required on a day-to-day basis. Other than this mask, I think which we really did more, and then we were trying to kind of sell it out. But all other things are really applicable to all times. So that way, we didn't have that kind of product differentiation what other industries had. Some of them had products which are very suitable only to pandemic, and after pandemic you don't really need those products. So we didn't have that issue as such. But then there were little bit of differences because of the pandemic. During pandemic, certain businesses were not doing well, and now after pandemic they are just really kind of picking up. So that way I think we didn't have lots of issues in those areas.
Yeah, okay. Tejas, I
And
think.
we also took care of the different government schemes. See, the governments also were encouraging infrastructure. They were also wanting to promote economic growth. So they came up with many initiatives, like they wanted to improve the roadways and then the railway. So many initiatives the government also did. So we were also very cautiously seeing and very closely watching the initiatives of the government so that we are able to do our servicing well.
Tejas, do you see a challenge in your business with demand and products demanded by customers, different changing taste, changing demand, etc.?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely what we are, and I think in a business like ours, where we have number of SKUs in the market, right? So I mean, we'll have somewhere around few hundred SKUs in the market, and very common of most FMCGs. I think keeping a track of what are the right SKUs to be in the market. I think one of the learnings, at least we got from COVID, is that people go after trusted brands, people go after trusted SKU. So I think in that space we were in a good space. I think Cadbury, Oreo are brands people trust and rely on. So I think in that space, I would say our products were favored for as opposed to favored against. But yes, I think within that also, if we have done some new products, I think you've got to be careful not to get over optimistic in the scenario when people are switching to products what they know, switching to SKUs they trust. So I think scenario planning is absolutely crucial. And I think you made the point, Bhaskar. In today's day and age, there are so many tools available where you can read what is happening in the market significantly faster, right? So you have a sales guy, as soon as he's putting the order in your app, you kind of start getting a track of what's been the weekly trend and you start updating the order. So the teams have definitely become significantly more agile and able to do these tweaks post the COVID world. And I think then post the whole supply chain disruption, it has only further made them more agile and adaptable. So I think this is one skill that we have learned a bit, I would say, in force after COVID, but I think that is something really helping us to manage the number of SKUs without proliferation.
I think one point I'd also like to add,
Yeah,
probably just very quickly, just a minute, is sustainability. If you see, sustainability is something that all companies are now pushing for, and whether it's on the E, S, or the G, or even if you look at diversity, what have you, and these are topics which we as CFOs, it's not just reporting the energy consumption or the R&D, etc. It's also trying to see how we can actually make use of our existing resources in a more efficient manner, trying to reduce the carbon emission. And that's where now our role as CFOs is also going to increase, and not just internally within, say, for example, Siemens, but when we talk to our customers, we also speak a lot about sustainable solutions. And that is something which also we are seeing over the last 24 to 36 months. Of course, this has been going on since a very long time, but it's really picked momentum with our 2030 targets, 2037 targets, etc. So I think that's another topic that will be, a big one for us with our customers and our suppliers, both sides.
Absolutely. So this you
Yes.
also, yeah.
Yes. So because I'm also in an industry where we are, let's say, B2C industry, and just to share a very interesting trend we found at the time of lockdown. So like we have a huge range of male grooming products, and since salons were closed, we find that do it yourself. So we saw the big surge in beard trimmers, shavers, and all those things. And there was a complete fall on garment care, like irons, or in the beauty care products. Yeah. Because people don't need to iron because they were not going to the offices, and all of a sudden, as soon as we see the market has opened and people have started going to offices, we see the complete reverse trend. Yeah, our beauty business and our garment care business has seen a spike. Yeah, because now again that is a need, and you see the male grooming coming down because now the salons are open. So again, to that one, those type of consumer behavior is also very important to understand, that how the market will behave when the things are different. Yeah, so that was something, a different learning for us. And that's I can keep it there.
So,
Yeah, even with respect to consumer business, we also had different trends because we have this office stationery, and then the offices are all closed. So we had to be a little bit careful on the inventory part, seeing the customer behavior on the consumer side, as well as healthcare, of course. Again, all the COVID related items, we wanted to kind of do more production, more buying of those things so that we are able to use the advantage of COVID, I should say.
PPEs, yeah, of course. So we also have a huge number of questions that have come from the audience. We should also give some weightage to that. So what I would do is I'll ask you to give your final view on where do you see inflation going forward for the rest of 22, 23. I'll start with Raj. Brief answers so that we can move to the questions from the audience. I'll want all of you to answer this question because it's so very important.
For me, Bhaskar, the inflation here to stay, and we are living from an inflationary environment for years. Okay, only point here that it is crossed the, I can say, stress threshold. Okay, today that's the only I can say reason when we are debating on the factor, because it's disturbed entire supply chain. So inflation will be there. And if you take cue from RBI government, okay, today we have almost 7 lakh crores daily basis, okay, daily surplus, okay, 7 lakh crores liquidity, okay, that's right now in market. And desirable is only 1 to 2 lakh crores should stay. And he already cautioned that he's not going to take very abrupt call, okay, and rather than he will take 2 to 3 years timeline. So what it is summing, okay, if you sum up that in macro level, we can see that minimum it is medium term, it is here to stay. Whether it is single digit or double digit, okay, that time will say, okay, all external shocks, what we are facing at the moment, how it is behaving, okay, that time will say that how it is coming. So I can say sum up that we have to live, but as a CFO, we need to be positive and attentive in all way. That, okay, that's, I need to create the value as much as possible.
Yeah, very, very important. Very important.
I think from my side, also
Yeah.
inflation is there to stay, but the realistic demand will hopefully come into picture in the next 12 months. It's not going to happen soon. I mean, I don't think the supply chain issues are going to go away. It's going to run straight into 23 and pretty much early of 23-24, as in the financial year 23-24 in India. So I don't think that is going to happen. But so inflation will be there. Base price, I mean, but I see the advanced ordering that we had seen will probably ease out, but not go away. That's for sure. So people will want to stock because at the end of the day, they would want to make sure that their kitty is full so that they can take care of the end customer needs. But having said that, I think just one point I want to make, along with inflation comes also one aspect completely 180 is for us as CFOs, the CFO community. You know, we need to, in this whole world of digitalization, etc., we have to learn to, you know, retrain, either upscale ourselves or relearn. Because, you know, this is going to be the order of the day where, you know, the normal, you know, ICFR, IGAP, we all know of these things. Yeah, we are aware of these things. But we need to learn the new digital economy. I mean, we want to be a 5 trillion economy, out of which 1 trillion or probably 1 trillion plus would be digital. We as finance experts need to know this. I mean, that's something which I personally believe, you know, inflation is one aspect. We will be in a position to manage it. And as Raj said, we really don't know whether it will be single or double digit. But on the training side and on the learning side, we as the community need to abreast ourselves of the latest technologies and if the need be, learn and relearn and upskill ourselves. That's it from myself. Sorry.
Thank you. Tejas?
Sure. I mean, I wish I would know the answer of how long it continues and what number. So I will go with, I think, what the general view is. I think we formally also we see this here to stay. I think we see the inflationary environment continuing. I hope it ebbs out sometime and not impact the consumer demand and the India growth story in the long run. And I think I totally echo the thoughts Raj mentioned on the liquidity and the steps the RBI has taken, right? So I think in the mitigation, I think we have to be agile. I think, as I said, I think the main purpose is to make sure that we are not going to let the growth slow down. And I think to learn tools, I think what Kairav is talking about, also probably we get more smarter on mitigation, maybe use digital as a mitigating tool, cost control, you know, you name it, you to pull all the levers, but you have to mitigate, right? And I think come back strongly. And I think all crisis comes with an opportunity. So I hope we all will come back brighter on the other side.
Absolutely. Sudeep, your views on this?
Yes. So for me, with a growing economy, inflation has to come and it will come. So it is like for me, scooter and stepney. Yeah. And it's only up to us. How do we ride it? Yeah. And we have to be ready with our all tools, go back to your drawing board, start learning new tricks, as they just mentioned about it. And the last statement I can say as a CFO is that when going gets tough, tough gets going. That's where I can put it.
Vidya, what do you say? The going is definitely tough.
Yeah. See, what I would think is we have experienced a very drastic external environment, and we have been managing it very well as a country also. And there were a lot of initiatives from the government, from Reserve Bank to help even the entrepreneurs, small businesses to remain afloat and not just die down. And as big businesses, we definitely can ease it out, because we have been managing our working capital very well, I should say. The customers, we were always saying, collecting, the collections were really very good. And even for the suppliers, we had organized all these bank financing at a very cheap rate, using our whatever working capital things we had. So we were able to pass it on to the suppliers. So keep both of them happier, and then also able to do the pricing, not immediately, but then we really did a lot of work on pricing, and now we have the customers are really paying on time, and we did all those things well. And I would also say that we should take this as an opportunity to grow, and localize as much things as possible. Reduce your dependencies. Not only see that you have one supplier. Reduce your dependencies on the suppliers. Have more of them, and don't be very country specific. If you're depend on one country, again, you get stuck with everything. The entire chain gets broken. So with all these things, if you are able to do a very balancing act, and be very close to the functions, deal with them, understand the end-to-end processes, negotiate, find alternate suppliers, find ways of bringing in different types of raw materials, reducing your raw material pricing. So if you, there's a lot of things that we can do as a CFO, I would think.
Excellent.
And I'm also happy to say that we have been increasing our profits. Our profitability went up, though even though it is not up to pre-COVID levels, but it was not really dropping to the extent it was in the initial phase. But then it is coming up, and I'm very sure that India would be able to do much better and take all the opportunities that we can have because of this pandemic.
Excellent. I'm hearing a lot of be responsible corporate citizens is what the message I'm hearing from all of you. That's excellent. I just want to take some few important things, aspects which probably we have not covered, which have come from the Q&A from the audience. One of them is, how are you looking at the current human resources situation in India? Post-pandemic, there seems to be a sudden rise in demand for human resources, especially in the technical side. How do you look at this scenario? Is it impacting operations, delivery, cost, customer satisfaction? I would ask any one of you to take it.
Yeah, human resources, what we did to retain our talents, we said we actually encourage work your home culture, other than the people who have to work in the plant, but all others, wherever, depending upon the nature of the jobs, we just said work your way, to also make them have a balanced life. So this will also give them comfort of working as well as taking care of their families. And see, this also gives another advantage. Now we all know that we can work online sitting anywhere in the globe. It's not necessary that you need to be at your customer place or your supplier place. You can stay anywhere and get connected. So that also gives a lot of opportunities for the talent acquisition team to see internal resources sitting elsewhere, but then you can engage them. They don't have to come to India and work. They can sit in Singapore, they can sit in any other country and then do work for you. So you can make use of all these internal and external talents that are available. And of course, we lose people to competition. That now that is there. We are seeing that increase that's happening. But I
Also,
think it will all settle
also
down.
there's an addition to this, probably, that service industry, people cost is biggest number. Do we expect salaries to take a hit?
Yeah, I can take this answer.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is a disruption. Actually, I can say definitely it is. If you see IT industry at the moment, because it's a huge spike in their all the, I can say, payroll cost. If you see the huge spike, and definitely there's a demand, but other side customers are willing to pay. So I'm finding the equilibrium. Okay, so one side I'm seeing the supply side news, all table lights is flashing that 70% high. But is the organization suffering from that? I will say no, because this disruption due to COVID and all, given the huge, I can say, opportunity for digitalization and digitizations. Okay, so customers also willing to pay. So I am finding equilibrium. Okay, and a part of that, it is giving the yield to organize, positive yield. So yes, one side it looks like, oh, cost is increasing, but you need to see your revenue also, whether it is going or
You're
otherwise you will not take those talent.
Benefit is more than cost, is what you're trying to say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So I have one more question to add to this, and probably Kairav, you can chip on this. Which ones to cut in the cost? What, the cost mitigation? What should we not incur? Should we not incur marketing costs? Should we stop hiring? What is it that we should be doing?
No, I think there is no answer whether you cut marketing or you cut sales, not at all. So I think all costs are necessary to grow the business. I mean, you can't pinpoint towards which cost to cut, which not to. But I think what we did, I can tell you, is we look at the must-haves and the good-to-haves. All of us do that. Even when you look at OPEX or CAPEX, see where the ROI, the IRR, the standard, the terms are, the rules are followed. And also look at what is strategic and what is non-strategic. What is extremely important in terms of spending, you must do that. So whatever must happen for quality, and we all know we represent organizations which are top-notch on quality. So if there is something that we need to spend on quality, we will not stop. So I think spends will be there. I think what we need to do is see how we bring that value proposition to the end customer. And those who believe in us will always believe in us. And as I said, there are new techniques, digital value selling. We can talk about this, but I think the approach to the customer has changed. But I don't think we need to bring do this and don't do that. There is no answer to that. We need to spend where the right amount needs to be spent in the right direction. So that has to happen.
One thing I will add here, I will compliment that we CFO always believing matching concept. Okay. If you are cutting down any cost, say for traveling, you need to analyze that where impact will go, whether it is customer retention, growth, you need to quantify. Then come with whether you are giving gain or loss. So always you have to see both the side of the coin.
Yes.
It's not very straightforward.
So Bhaskar, just to add one point on this one, for me, the cost is a lagging indicator. We do is that remove the waste from the system, and that will bring into the savings. For example, let's talk about the travel only. Booking the travel ticket 1 day in advance versus 7 days in advance. If your customer meetings are fixed, that brings a significant price difference in the ticket. So we went back to our drawing board and started looking into each and every aspect, looking from the coffee machines, because thing is that 5 machines, because those all small elements starts to adding into it. And that's where we say the removal of the waste is more important. Follow the Tiger Woods theory, and then you say that, okay.
Sudeep, I'm very happy to note that you're not cutting travel costs. It's affecting our business directly. Okay. The other big question which a lot of people are asking, is there a black swan event? Is recession a reality? Should we be afraid? Or is India seeing an opportunity in this entire crisis? I'm just open to anybody. Tejas, Raj, anybody?
Yeah, I can answer this question that black swan, it is definitely, we have seen during COVID. Okay. And we normally are focused on the controllable position, what we can control. Okay. But uncontrollable position, definitely we need to see always that available tools, okay, what you have, okay, and how you are going to handle. So as an industry leader, you cannot be complacent that saying that everything is under control. You should have critical thinking, and critical thinking includes some risk also, okay, and which can be turned into black swan sometimes. Okay, it is complete degradation from your strategies. So you can use always when you are a CFO position that what are the controllable factors, take it in next level of improvement and create the value. But uncontrollable situation, it depends on your simulation, sensitivity, analysis, other tools, whatever you are matching. Definitely it is will helping you a lot. As far as for the macro level, India is very well placed at the moment, okay, because if you see still Asia as a whole and developing nation is going to grow at the rate of 5.6% in 2023. I'm saying cumulatively for all developing nations, because fundamentals are very correct. Your capacity to be utilized for 70% internal consumptions, that's the biggest driver. Okay, so these are the things, and economic situation is not so bad, okay, in comparison to other nations. So I would say that we are not, I can saying that it's a well-placed position, but I'm saying that we are in the position which can combat, okay, this menace, okay, very effectively, okay, rather than giving any submissive, okay, view. So I feel that it is, our glory will be intact completely.
Excellent. I think we have almost come to the close of the, we have used our time. I think it was fantastic insights from each one. And from the response that I'm seeing from the audience, they've actually sort of reciprocated and inflation definitely is an animal which all of us has to deal with. It's a question of how sensibly we do it, how well we do our forecasting, what sort of mitigation we take. I think that's a very good indicators given by all of you. Thank you very much. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you must have also enjoyed this entire conversation.